Welcome back, everyone. NicknLex here. Thank you so much for joining me today to this new episode of Music with Nick. Today we have a new marathon by Mike. Thank you so much. We're going to dive in head first into more Grateful Dead, and I'm super excited. It's always literally like it's so unpredictable when I do the Grateful Dead. It's just like I have no expectations, and yet I'm full of expectations. It's bizarre. It's weird. But yeah, Mike sponsored this marathon. Thank you so much, Mike. Yeah, we're gonna get into some Jerry Garcia and MERL Saunders marathon. That's basically what Mike decided to call this episode. And I'm totally down for it. So we're going to do two longer songs. I love that the Grateful Dead do these jam sessions, you know. There's so much happening and it's so unpredictable. It's wonderful. So there is a little bit of information here. Mike sent me this email. We're going to do these two songs. One is from GARCIA Live Volume 18. Jerry Garcia and MERL Saunders on November 2nd, 74, live at the Keystone Theater in Berkeley, California. Composed and first performed, I love it, by songwriter Donny Hathaway in the 1960s. The exact date is unknown. The musicians include Jerry Merle on keyboards, Martin Fierro on saxophone, John Kahn on bass, Paul Humphrey on drums, and of course, we got Jerry Garcia on the guitar, and Merle, you know, on keyboards. So we're gonna do this. Thank you so much, Mike, for sending me the actual Spotify link. I just had to click it, add to my list, and boom, we're good to go. Then the second one we're gonna do is Expressway, Chew Your Heart. Also MERL Saunders and friends. It says include Jerry Garcia on vocals and lead guitar for the song. Yes. And then it says here from MERL Saunders and Friends Fire Up album. The song was written by Kenny Gable and Leo Huff and first performed by the Soul Survivors in 1967. Musicians include Merle, Jerry, and John from Above, with Bill Witt on drums and Tom Fogerty from Creedence Clear Revival, CCR, on rhythm guitar, and also the link. Thank you so much. And hey, you said sorry about the confusion. Don't apologize for anything. Thank you so much for taking the time of sending me the right information. I appreciate it, and we're gonna have a good time. And all you deadheads out there, I hope you enjoy this. I just talked to Alexia's dad's neighbor, and he's a deadhead, complete deadhead, and he has seen them, I think he said 25 times. And he was like, no, that's nothing. That's literally that's like beginner's club. I'm like he said something very funny. It's like, I'm in the kindergarten league, because real deadheads have seen the band like 500 times. I was like, whoa. So yeah, so I can only imagine. Amazing stuff. So yeah, without further ado, you know, we're not doing any video, so it's very, very easy. We're just gonna hit play here. And I hope you have a wonderful time, you know. Let's analyze these tracks. Let's enjoy them. If you haven't heard them before, let's see what you hear. I'm just gonna, you know, try and have a good time, because that's what the Dead is, you know. It's musicians with incredible capabilities and just creativity on the spot. Just let's go. You know, I love that. It's like, you know, I love jazz. I love jazz improvisation. I love standards, of course, where with a lot of improvisation, where you play a theme and then boom, let's go. Now we're gonna go wild. And that's what the Grateful Dead, I mean, is about. But I know that there's a lot of different phases. They have their folk, they have their fusion, they have their rock, they have their jams. You know, there's all this like stuff that you kind of like have to get into. Slowly but surely. But I don't know what kind of phase they're in right there, but we're gonna go first with Jerry Garcia and Merle Saunders, and then we're gonna actually check out Merle Saunders' album, and that's the way we're gonna go. So I hope you have fun. If you like, please subscribe. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment. You know, comments, I think, are the best driver for other people to see these videos. The more comments, the more it gets pushed out into the internet, the more deadheads we gain. That's basically, you know, that's the key, right? All right, so here we go. Valdez in the Country live. Let's go. 17 minutes. And I know these 17 minutes are just gonna fly by, because when it's good music, you know, time just like flies. So here we go with Valdez in the Country. Here we go. That Latin flavor. Okay, I have to pause. Like I have to talk about this because it's a long song. I usually don't. And we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the keyboard solo. Wow. This was amazing. I mean, I love these. There's this really, really complex chord progression, and bold, very, very bold. The bass player exactly at that moment decides to kind of like go for a little, lick. And it's very, very just one of those chord progressions, Coltrane or whatever. And you can hear how confusing it gets, I mean, I know what they're doing, and I love, for example, I love the sax. The sax was doing really cool things, and behind him, Jerry kind of like interjecting a little bit, really cool. I wanted to actually pause. There was like this is too much. It's like I'm gonna interrupt the whole thing, as I did right now. But I loved how they were like kind of just like the bass was doing it. I've said this before in other videos. It's like the perfect chaos. Everybody's doing something very different, but it all kind of like fits together very well. And they're all kind of like obviously in the same key, but maybe in the same progression. And there's a couple of, almost clashes, but I love how Jerry really like went for it. And he was playing outside and very, very close to, very, very close to almost being like, okay, I'm out. I'm out. But he's like, playing on that fine line of like, almost like, okay, if I move one more, like, I don't know, if I play a flat here, or something, I'm literally gonna play a bum note, but he doesn't. So I love how he circles around perfectly, and he knows it's like, okay, I'm already outside, but if I go one more fret to the left or the right, I'm gonna be out, and then it's obvious, I missed a note, and he didn't, and that is very, very hard. Every time when I improvise to a jazz or fusion progression, I mean, I'm just still all like, there's so much mistakes still, because I mean, I know the fretboard, but there is a lot of room for error, especially on the guitar. I think it's more connected on the keyboard. It's more, I don't know, it's more connected. The guitar is a little bit more, I don't know how to explain, but beautiful. I love both solos. I love how they work together. I love how the drummer always also kind of interjects his little, out of nowhere. They just like, he knows when he has to do them. And I'm sure there's all this like communication just with the eyes, body language and all that stuff. Like it's a beautiful language to see when you hear musicians and how they communicate just by looks or by movements or by by hand signals and stuff like that. It's beautiful. So now this is a very important part of the song, because this is now MERL taking over. So let's go back maybe 5 seconds and let's check out his improvisation. Let's go. So we're at 6 minutes. Loving it. I hope you're having a good time. Let's continue. opening up the whole thing like. Wow. They're like, yes. It's awesome. Let's see what happens if there's anything else. Man. It's tuning. All right, man. This was, I mean, what can you say? I mean, there was a section in there that was just, the entire song was just transformed. I think the only thing that was the same was the tempo of the drums, but even the drums, the pattern and the rhythm was different. I think that the time signature was at least the same, but they opened it up and closed it back again, and just the improvisations. Now, I'm a little bit confused because I do think I heard two guitars, but I could be wrong. They were playing different things, of course. And let's go back just to MERL Saunders. Beautiful, just improvisation. I love the Latin, infusion there, but also very jazz and very free jazz then in the later parts of the song, like around the 15 minute mark. He went like really, he opened it up like this plane, to really go. And everybody had like their moment to, I love how they kind of just they feed off each other very, very efficiently. It's like, oh, this guy's doing this. Okay, let me do this, because like they recognize, obviously, okay, he's playing that kind of scale, you know, he's in this kind of like key right now. Let me jump in with something to what I love about this, to compensate. What I love about this is they never kind of like, they give themselves space and they give themselves time to breathe. It's not like, oh, look at me, I'm just gonna like, you know, take over. I love how the drummer keeps the tempo, the bass, even though he does a lot of stuff, he does adventurous stuff, very difficult stuff to play. I heard these like octaves that I pointed out, and he's just on top of he's always feeding like that rhythm to the drummer, and they're like bouncing off each other wonderfully. And then the lead instruments, obviously, you know, you hear the keyboard doing like something, and then and then maybe Jerry does like they kind of like, you know, question and answer, but not exactly. It's not like they're looking at each other. It's just like all in the moment. It's all beautiful improvisation. And then again, the sax, you know, it's kind of like, this is a good place for me to come in. It's like a wonderful thing. Also, the chords that Jerry Garcia was playing, very, very difficult stuff, like, you know, diminished, you know, very weird, you know, difficult stuff, just to like give the bass a little bit more body, you know, give the sax solo a little bit more of a cushion, you know, to land on. It's like a beautiful thing. It's like, it's literally jazz fusion, you know. And yeah, some people might not understand this at all, but I think any person that listens to jazz or likes music or plays is going to be like, damn, that's good. You know, I'm sure for a lot of people it might be even chaotic, like what's going on, but you have to be just like, you have to kind of like develop that sense of like musicianship, I guess, to be able to appreciate this, you know. It's not, obviously, I don't think it's for everyone, but certainly for me and for you guys, I hope, you know. I mean, people that click on this video will obviously understand what they're trying to do and what they're successfully achieving every time they play. They make these jam sessions, and they're never stale or boring. It's never, there's always something moving forward, you know. That's what I love about this band, that it's never just like a standard, even though I do love standards, but it's not like, okay, let's play the theme, let's improvise, let's go back to the theme, and then the other person improvises. It's all intertwined, like, you know, like a trip. And it's just so efficient, man. It's wonderful. It's honestly, I mean, 17 minutes, it felt way shorter because it's so enjoyable. Everybody's doing such creative things. For a musician, this music is gold because there's a lot of stuff that you can learn of. I mean, if you like listen to it and what chords was he playing over this, and then what kind of arpeggios, because he's very efficient in moving around the neck, and you know, you use arpeggios, I guess. That's what I do. The arpeggios always get me kind of like out of a sticky situation, because it's obviously to find yourself on the neck again. It connects kind of like, it's almost like you play a scale and then you play an arpeggio to go into another scale, because I don't even know how to explain it, but it is such an effective tool, because you don't want your music to sound just like random scales. You want it to be musical. And if you play certain scales that fit on these certain chords with the arpeggio, you can kind of like stop at a certain point and you can play them up or down, you know, the neck, and you can find yourself. It's just a very great tool. That's, you know, I really recommend this. And there's not even that much bending, because that's also a very good tool to find yourself, you know, on the guitar, or where am I, you know, because even when you bend and you're like, kind of like you bend and bend and bend, and then you're like, okay, I'm in this key now. Let me do this, you know. That's very bluesy, and I didn't hear that, you know. I didn't hear Jerry Garcia doing a lot of bending, because he's just very knowledgeable about the neck, you know. He doesn't really need to bend. I hope it makes sense. But yeah, this was just wonderful. I loved all the instruments, the bass, The drumming as well, beautiful and effective. And the bass was very, very adventurous, very, very good. There were some chord progressions there that were incredibly just bizarre and very difficult to like improvise over. They're like these, I don't know, just very, very. And then, but everybody was so efficient. And Jerry, his solos, and MERL solos, the sax player, everybody was just on, they're just on their A game. So that's Valdez in the Country. Wonderful. Now we're going to do Expressway to Your Heart. And this is from, again, this is from MERL Saunders' album, MERL Saunders and Friends. Does feature Jerry. It's a little bit shorter, from Fire Up. Let me see, when was this? 1992. And the one we just heard was from, that's 74. Okay. So let's see. And I've seen some really cool interviews because I remember last time I did a Grateful Dead reaction, I talked about him. I didn't know that he lost his finger. So the way he kind of like was holding, the way it looks, it's like he's like using his 3 fingers to hold the pick. And it's a common thing. I've seen it, like Pat Metheny does it. It's just, I can't do it because I usually hybrid pick. I need my finger to pick down here, and I do like kind of this. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. He's playing, like Pat Metheny style. And then everybody was like, man, no, he lost his finger, like, do your research. And now obviously I've been looking at interviews, and it's just crazy. But it's very special. Now, he can't do hybrid picking, and he can't tap, and he can't really play like classical guitar because you do need that middle finger for that, So, but hey, see how efficient he is still, and he's missing a finger on the right hand. The right hand, you don't know how important that is for guitar playing. It's really, really efficient when you use your right hand in a certain way, especially if yes, there are pick players, but there's also players that only play with their thumb or their index. But some people do use the middle finger very, very efficiently, like Brett Garcet or all the jazz fusion players, because it gives you that kind of like roller coaster fluidity. And but hey, there's also a lot of players that decide to play with the pick only. Okay, let's go here with Expressway. Let's check it out. I hope you're enjoying. Boom. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm a sucker for instrumental music. I've always been, I guess since I was a teen, I was listening to instrumental stuff already, and a lot of Malmsteen, a lot of Valdez, Satriani, and then I got into the jazz fusion players, Greg Howe, Richie Kotzen, and Pat Metheny, Alan Holdsworth, and the Grateful Dead was, I don't know, I just didn't know about them, but oh my Lord. I love the overbending purposefully. This, you bend, but you overbend. It's just a statement, beautiful, beautiful improvisation. More bluesy, of course, a lot of bending here. Beautiful, but there's these wonderful licks that Jerry Garcia plays. I should get a book or something, like maybe like his 50 best licks. I would definitely learn something new because I love the fusion of blues and jazz that he has, and is playing very, there's a player from Tribal Tech called Scott Henderson, and he does the same. He's basically a blues player at heart, but he's a jazz freak. So you get the best of both worlds. And that's what I kind of like feel with Jerry Garcia. He's like, he was completely under my radar. But I see, what the big fuzz is about. And there is right now, I think there is a band. I think they have John Mayer filling in Jerry's shoes. And John Mayer is an amazing guitar player. Just like so accomplished, great writer, great improviser and everything. And he's filling in at the Sphere in Las Vegas. So if you want to go see them, I do want to go see them. Of course, I wished I could have seen the Grateful Dead with Jerry Garcia, but that's no longer possible, unfortunately. But it is what it is. this was amazing. I mean, always, every time I do something Grateful Dead or related to Jerry Garcia and his like clan, you know, what an amazing bunch of musicians, you know, what an amazing generation, and all they also are so cool to listen to them. They're super down to earth. Everybody's kind of like, you know, so just so happy to be, you know, up there doing what they do, and it's not about any ego. That's for sure something that I've seen that I love, because there's some really like ginormous assholes in rock and roll, you know, because they just think they're better than everybody else, and they play literally like not even half of what Jerry's doing. It's really ridiculous. You know, I don't want to say any names, but it's unfortunately it is what it is. There's a lot of players who are like severely overrated, and they play literally like garbage, and they think they're like, you know, the kings and stuff. It's sad, you know, it's sad to see. And then you have these master musicians, and they're most of the master musicians, most of the great musicians in history were very, very humble people, because, you know, I don't know, it's just that's how you're supposed to be, I guess. And not I guess, that's, you know, that's what people should receive from you, you know, even though you're a rock star. I don't know, that's just like the way I see things. And I've you know, I've seen some interviews that I'm just like fascinated about this person, that I thought, well, I mean, he looks kind of like a jerk, and then they're like these, you know, these wonderful people, and then there's, you know, people that you think, oh, I think this guy looks very cool, and they're super, you know, snobs, and it is what it is. I just don't get that vibe from Jerry or the Grateful Dead, and that's just something that I admire. Again, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did with all my, you know, faces and air guitar. Yesterday I saw this wonderful video with Alexia. We reacted to Joe Cocker at Woodstock, and he was playing like the most amazing bass and guitar, and it's like, you said, that's what I feel like, you know, when I'm listening to music, because I'm a musician, you know, I kind of like to at least even pretend, even though I'm not playing, but it feels great when you listen, you know. It's like singing along, you know. It's like you're playing along, because you kind of know where they are on the neck, you know. At least you have an idea where, and it's just a wonderful thing, you know. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me on this voyage, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you did in the comment section. Like the video, dislike the video, subscribe, unsubscribe, whatever you like. It's really all about you guys. We've gotten this far. I think we're at 126,000. I can't even believe it. Thanks to you guys, you know, honestly, to everyone who watches this channel. Thank you for your support. Thank you to people, you know, like Mike, that sponsor these videos so we can keep the channel afloat, because unfortunately YouTube does not pay us, you know, so we have to do this, you know, through means of like buy me a coffee or Patreon and stuff like that. So again, thank you so much for the support. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.